Welcome back to Alive and Well's Daily Dose, your daily dose of support. Now, we know that during this time, we're finding interesting ways to just exist at home and also explore new ways of engaging with our family. And so today we have a wonderful guest from Operation Food Search. We have Carmen with us, who's going to share with us creative ways of how we can cook using the ingredients we can typically just find in our home. So, Carmen, thank you so very much for joining us today. We're excited to have you, and I should really use my I language. I'm excited to learn more about enhancing my cooking skills as well as just learning new recipes, which is something that's always fun for me. So, thank you so very much for joining us.
Excited to be here.
Now, before you kind of share some of your cooking talents with us, can you talk a little bit about Operation Food Search and share with us what they do?
Sure. So, Operation Food Search is an independent leading hunger relief organization. We're dedicated to healing hunger and strengthening our community here in St. Louis. And so we work with many different agencies, over 300 community partner agencies in Missouri and Illinois. And we distribute food to feed over 2,000 individuals on a monthly basis. So we were established in 1981 to tackle the growing problem of hunger in the St. Louis area. And we've really gone beyond just being a food bank. So we have the mission to nourish and educate our neighbors in need to heal the hurt of hunger.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I want to really just kind of get into what you're going to teach us today. And so I know you've got a couple of different recipes for us, including things that we can make together as a family and just kind of have fun doing.
Sure.
So what's the first recipe that you're going to share with us?
So today we're going to be making banana bites, which is a great kid-friendly snack recipe. And we're also going to make some tuna burgers, which is a great lunch or dinner option for the whole family.
Wonderful. Well, I'll let you kind of walk us through the first recipe.
So I'm going to hand off the camera to my husband. He's going to be our little video holder. All right. So today we have the banana bites recipe. So I have gathered all of our ingredients here. So we have 1.5 to 2 cups of oats. So you start with 1.5 cups, and if you need more, then you can go up to 2 cups. We have 1 ripe banana, so I already have it peeled in here. And I always like to say the browner the better for your ripe banana because you want it extra sweet. So when it has these brown spots, it means it's a little sweeter and it's a lot softer. So it'll mash up really nicely in this recipe. We have 1/3 cup of nut butter. So I actually have peanut butter here. But you can use almond butter, soy butter, really any nut or seed butter works here. Then we have 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You can also use honey instead in this recipe. We have cocoa powder, which adds a nice chocolatey flavor, but this is optional. So if you don't have cocoa powder, you can use, you just can omit it altogether and not use it. And then we have 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. So instead of chocolate chips, you can also use dried fruit or shredded coconut. You can really get creative with this recipe. It's very versatile. So we'll start with mashing up our banana. So we use a fork here, and this is a great way to have kids help you. So you want to make sure you're mashing it up and getting all the big chunks kind of broken up so it's not too lumpy. And kids definitely have fun using a fork and kind of mashing up the banana in this recipe. And if you don't have bananas, applesauce also works, or canned pumpkin if you have canned pumpkin. Basically, you want some kind of produce item that is nice and sticky so you can get your mixture all stuck together. All right, so we have our bananas mashed. And now all you do is dump all of your ingredients in. So again, it's that 1.5 cups of quick oats. So you dump that in. And then we have our nut butter. So again, I'm using peanut butter. And again, kids are great help with measuring all of these ingredients. It can get a little messy with kids in the kitchen, but it's always fun. We have our maple syrup. This is adding a little bit of sweetness, but also honey works and also adds nice flavor. Our cocoa powder and chocolate chips. And then all you do is mix it together. So I'm using a spatula. You can use a spoon. You can use your hands. Really any way to get the mixture kind of mixed well. So mash it using the side of the spatula or the back of your spoon to kind of get the lumps dispersed evenly. And then this is where I like to kind of get dirty with my hands. So I have some gloves here. You can definitely just use clean hands, but since I don't want to disappear off camera to wash my hands, I'm going to use some gloves. So you get your gloves on, and you can use your fingers to mash it all together. This is definitely where it gets a little fun. But once it's combined, you can kind of see, if you want to zoom in a little here and see the mixture. All the lumps are kind of gone. It's kind of nicely mixed together. And the cocoa powder makes it look all nice and chocolatey. So you want to take about a tablespoon-sized portion, and you want to squeeze it in your hands and roll it into a nice ball shape. And there you go. And this recipe makes about 15 bite-sized nut butter bites. These banana bites can keep in the freezer, actually. They actually keep a little longer in the freezer because bananas tend to turn brown if you keep them just in the fridge. So if you freeze these, they'll last a couple weeks. I don't know if they've ever lasted that long in our house. Every time we've made them, they're always disappear pretty quickly.
Now, in addition to sounding and looking delicious, it also really sounds healthy too.
Yes, so these, since they contain oats, they're containing a whole grain, which is a great filling ingredient that is often you can keep in your pantry. So whole grains contain all of the nutrients and the fiber that you need. So to kind of compare it to a refined grain, when you take the grain of wheat, to refine it, you take away multiple layers, and those layers contain nutrients and fiber. But when you're refining it, it makes it a little softer and has a longer shelf life. So that's why the food industry started refining grains. But a whole grain contains more fiber, more nutrients. It keeps you fuller longer. So if you eat something like a snack like this with whole grains, you'll feel a lot fuller versus just eating a snack with refined grains in it.
So does that mean I don't have to feel guilty about eating all of the product I make then?
Definitely. You should never feel guilty about food. Food is meant to be enjoyed, but this is definitely a healthier snack. So when we're talking to kids in our cooking classes, we always try to aim for at least 2 food groups in every snack. So this snack actually contains 3 food groups. So it has fruits in there from the banana, the whole grains with the oats, and then has some protein and healthy fats from the nut butter. All right, so those are our whole grain oat bites. A little fun fact about oats that I'd like to mention. They're almost never a refined grain. So anytime you find a product that contains oats, it's almost always a whole grain because it's almost impossible to remove those outer layers like you can do with a wheat product. A lot of times people ask me what the difference is between steel cut or quick oats or instant. The good news is they're all equally healthy. They all contain the same nutrients, but they're just processed a little differently. So example, like steel cut, the oat is just chopped up using a steel blade, or with the rolled oats, they're lightly steamed and rolled flat, so they cook a little faster. And with instant oats, they're steamed, rolled flat, and chopped up into little pieces, so they cook even quicker.
Now, we have a great question that was shared with us. If someone has an allergy to nuts, is there something else we can use besides a nut butter in this recipe?
Yes, so if you're allergic to nuts, there is products that a lot of schools use. It's called sun butter, and it's made of sunflower seeds. And there's also a soy butter that has the same consistency and texture, but it uses a soy product, so there's no nuts or seeds in it. But sunflower butter is pretty reasonably priced and easy to find in the grocery store, so that would be a good option. Okay, there we go. We have our banana bites all done. So you can put these in the fridge for up to 30 minutes to get them to seal or to get them to firm up. And then again, they'll keep in the freezer instead of in the fridge because the banana tends to get brown. All right, and our next recipe is we have our tuna burgers. So the tuna burger ingredients are 15 ounces of canned tuna. So I have the canned tuna in water because there is a little less fat in there, and you're draining off the water anyway. A little olive oil, 3/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. And we have our seasoning. So we have Italian seasoning, we have minced garlic, salt, pepper, paprika, and an egg whisked. And I forgot the egg. Let me grab that out of the fridge.
Now, in just looking at this recipe, I really love it because these are already ingredients for the most part I have in my home.
Yes. And what's handy is like if you don't have breadcrumbs, you can actually take a piece of stale bread and crumble it up like in your blender or food processor, or even put it in a Ziploc bag and like pound away if it's really stale, or even just chopping up a piece of bread. So the bread is there to help bind the burger. So a lot of times I might not have breadcrumbs, but I almost always have bread in our house, so we can kind of make our own breadcrumbs in that way. So I'm going to use gloves again because this is a hands-on recipe and I don't want to disappear again. So the first step is taking your tuna. So again, it's 15 ounces of tuna, and you open it and drain it and just throw away the liquid that comes away. Tuna is not only a great source of shelf-stable protein, but it's also high in brain-boosting and heart-healthy fats. The dietary guidelines recommends that you consume at least 8 ounces of fish a week. And this recipe makes 4 tuna burgers. So just one of these burgers is about 4 ounces of fish. So you're halfway to your goal, which is a great and easy way to get your fish in for the week. So in our bowl, we're going to combine the tuna, and then there's a little bit of olive oil. So the olive oil can help bind it. And then we add in our breadcrumbs. And I feel like I'm on TV, like with all my measurements already done. Our tablespoon of dried Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, and paprika. So you just dump that in. And then we also have our fresh garlic. So you can use minced or dried garlic, but I had some fresh garlic on hand, so we'll use that. And then you also have your eggs. So again, you don't have to use a whisk or any fancy utensil. You just take a fork and whisk up your egg. And basically, you're just trying to get it all combined nicely so you don't have the whites and the yolks separated. And then the egg helps to get this recipe sticking well together. But if you don't have an egg, you can always use like mayonnaise or mustard, some kind of condiment that will add a little moisture to help get it stuck together. So then you just mix it to combine. So I'm again using a spatula, spoon works, your hands work. Sometimes I always think the hands just a little easier because you know what, how to get it all combined.
And I have to say, some of our live viewers have shared that you look very official, just like a real baking show. So,
oh, good. So, if you don't have tuna on hand and you have canned salmon, you can use that instead. There is even chicken in a can, which is an easy protein as well, which would work in this recipe. All right, so now we're all combined here. So I'm going to use my hands, and I'm going to form this into 4 patties. So I usually just roll it into a ball. And then we have our skillet over here. We get it warming up. Put it back in there. Try to do it in an even patty, so then you can have 4 equal-sized burgers. So I'm going to start with just making these into a ball. I'm not great at making these even. All right, and once our skillet is heated up, so I'm using a nonstick skillet. If you're using a regular skillet, I would add a little olive oil to the pan. So you want to flatten your burger patty, and I usually put a little indentation in the middle of the patty so to help prevent it from bubbling up while it's cooking. You see the little indentation there? So then we're going to put it into our skillet. And the good news is, since we're using canned tuna, The protein's already cooked, so you don't have to worry about getting it cooked all the way through. Basically, you're just heating it up and getting a nice sear on the outside. So you can eat it just as is if you didn't have the egg in it. But since we have that egg, we're going to be cooking it. And this, again, you can get your kids in the kitchen with this as well. Kids love feeling foods with their hands. It's a nice sensory kind of experiment to do. And you can mix up with the seasonings too. So sometimes you can have, if you like a little spice, do a little jerk seasoning or Cajun seasoning in here. Or even if you don't like spice at all and you just want salt, pepper, and garlic, that's also fine. So now this cooks for about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes on each side. And again, we're just getting that sear. So it's not there to really cook the tuna because the tuna is already cooked, but it's there to kind of heat it up, cook the egg, and get a nice sear on the outside.
Now, while you're cooking, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
So I noticed that a lot of these ingredients I already have, but from your experience, what are ingredients that might be helpful to just always keep on hand?
Yeah, so having a well-stocked pantry is key, not only in times of emergencies, but just in general life, because sometimes you get so busy in your daily routine that you might forget to go to the store. So it's handy to have things on hand so you know what to prepare, or you know that you have things that you can prepare. So I always like to say having some low sodium canned vegetables on hand is key. So like peas and green beans, carrots, spinach, mixed vegetables, really any of the vegetables that you see on the shelf, having a variety on hand. So the guidelines recommend filling your plate half with fruits and vegetables. And when you have these easy to use canned veggies on hand, then you can fill your plate with a very colorful assortment. Canned fruits, looking for fruits packed in 100% fruit juice or packed in water, or looking for like applesauce with no sugar added. Those all have a long shelf life and can also help contribute to a healthy meal as well. Canned beans and dried beans are a great protein source. I like just tossing beans into soups and chilies. I'll make like a bean salad or top it on a veggie salad. Canned meats. So we talked about the tuna and the salmon, but also canned chicken is a great protein source and easy to add in a lot of recipes. So I'll make like buffalo chicken dip with canned chicken. I'll toss it into chicken noodle soup. There's a wide variety that you can use to canned chicken. Frozen fruits and vegetables also have a long shelf life. We know it's not a pantry food, but they are still considered one of those items that you can keep on hand for a while. Grains like oats that we use today, white and brown rice, pasta, other grain products like quinoa or bulgur, you can keep on hand. Hardy produce, so things that are kept at shelf stable or room temperature like potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, apples, and oranges. So those are all easy to add and keep in your pantry. And there's a lot of other shelf stable things like nuts or seed butters, nuts itself, cereal, breakfast bars, whole grain snacks, a lot of variety. So I'm flipping these now. They have a nice little color on the side. You want to zoom in and see.
Oh, those look delicious.
Can you hear the sizzling?
I can.
There we go. So now 3 to 5 minutes on the other side. And a little tip with the canned fruits and vegetables. So if you can't find the low sodium varieties, you can actually rinse off some of that sodium. So when you drain like green beans, for example, drain them in the sink in a colander and rinse them with water. And you can actually remove up to 40% of the sodium that's found in that canned item. So a lot of that sodium or the salt is found in the liquid and coated on the outside of the product. So rinsing it before using is a great tip.
Wonderful. We even got a name from one of our viewers for your new cooking show. It's Cooking with Carmen.
Oh, I love it.
We'll be on YouTube in a month.
So once this is done, the tuna burgers, I treat it almost like a regular burger. So you can really top it with anything you like a normal burger. So I have lettuce, tomato, and onion here. And then these are really good with like mayonnaise and mustard. I've never tried it with ketchup, but if you're adventurous and you want to do that, go for it. But you simply take a whole wheat burger bun. So you can toast it if you'd like, but I'm not for this. So you take your burger bun, and I have lettuce, tomato, and onion, and you simply build your burger. Super simple and delicious.
Oh, and it doesn't take long to make, like from
No.
prep to like finished product. Like it's dinner in a jiffy.
Very quick and easy. That's my goal. So I'm a new mom. I have a 5-month-old. And some nights it's just easy to have a simple and quick dinner is key. Because sometimes we don't eat until after he goes to bed. So we're eating at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So having something that is easy to throw together, you don't really have to think because these ingredients are found in my pantry normally, that it's just handy to have an easy to make meal.
I love that. I love that. And I think much like some of our viewers are saying, you're making me hungry all of a sudden, even though I just had breakfast.
I know. Well, it'll be lunchtime soon. So you can always make it.
Now, with the tuna burgers, do you find that that children really like them too? Is it something that's accessible for the whole family to eat?
Definitely. So I find that sometimes tuna in particular is a little different for kids and they might not like it as much. But if they are preparing it themselves, they're more likely to try it and enjoy it because they put a lot of work into it. So if they're helping by dumping the tuna out of the can itself and mixing it or using their hands, really getting them involved in the kitchen can help them really enjoy and try the foods.
I know for someone like me, it's nice to not, grab something quick from the freezer that you're then thawing, but feels just healthier making something fresh. And so I'm loving these quick ideas. Now, I know that you have a lot of really great recipes to share with us. Can you talk about some other things that we can just kind of put together using ingredients we may find in our pantry?
Definitely. So one example, I think you have the recipe for it to show, is the quick breakfast crisp, the quick breakfast fruit crisp. So this is using canned fruit and instant oatmeal packets. So it's really simple. Is you just take 2 cans of fruit and look for the fruit packed in 100% juice because we're going to be using that liquid in this recipe. So if you're using pears, for example, you take the pears out of the juice and chop them up into bite-sized pieces, but keep the liquid. And then you simply mix together 3 packets of instant oatmeal with 1/3 of a cup flour and 1/3 cup of melted butter, and you mix it into a bowl, and you kind of get that crumbly texture. So you dump your fruit into a baking dish, like a 9-inch square glass baking dish, and then you can dump the liquid in as well, and then you top that crumbly topping that you made with instant oatmeal packets, and you bake it at 425 for about 15 minutes until it's golden brown, and it's really delicious if you serve it with some yogurt. So you're almost having like a breakfast dessert, because a lot of times people think of fruit crisp as a dessert, but it is a healthy, whole grain packed fruit filled breakfast.
And so I know it bakes for about 15 minutes, but altogether, it doesn't sound like it takes too long to put together for something
About
yummy.
45 minutes max, super simple.
And it's healthy too.
Yeah, so you're getting fruit, you're getting whole grains, and if you're pairing it with yogurt, you're getting some dairy and protein in there as well.
Wonderful. And I know you have another recipe to share with us as well.
Yeah, so it's the Build Your Own Soup framework. So this is a custom kind of make your own soup. So you start with broth or water. So aim for 4 cups. So if you have chicken broth or veggie broth or beef broth, really any broth works, or even just simply water. And then the next ingredient is veggies. So choose any vegetable you want. So it can be canned veggies, it can be frozen veggies, it can be fresh vegetables. It's either 2 cans or about 2 cups. And then you add some protein. So beans, chicken, beef, pork, turkey, really anything that you have. So it's, again, either 2 cans or 1 pound of cooked meat. And then you use a grain product. So it's 1 cup of cooked rice, pasta, or any other grain that you have on hand. If you add like barley to soups, you can add that to the soup. Mm-hmm. And then you season it. So taco seasoning, Italian herb seasoning, jerk, lemon pepper, Cajun, anything. So it's very simple. So if you have any raw veggies, you'd first saute them with a little bit of olive oil in a big soup pot, and then you'd add in your broth, dump in any other veggies you have, any proteins that you have, and the spices. You simmer it for about 25 minutes, and then you add in your cooked grains and just warm them up for about 5 more minutes, and that is it. It's super simple.
Now, if we're using something like maybe chicken, do we need to cook the chicken beforehand or any meat product beforehand?
I would definitely, if you're using raw meats, definitely cook it beforehand. So for the chicken, I would bake it or simmer it in some water on the stove and then shred it and then add it to the recipe.
Wonderful. And I have to say, I'm one of those people who I love soup all year round. So this is a fantastic recipe. But typically when you think about making soup, or I think about the way my mom would make soup, it was something that took hours to make.
Yeah, my husband's like a soup fiend as well. So he will eat soup any time of year. And this recipe is super simple together, and it's still flavorful because you're using all these fun ingredients and you're choosing the seasonings that you like. So like one example is like making a taco soup with this framework. So you can use like beef broth. You can use canned corn and canned tomatoes with the green chilies. There's your 2 veggies. Your protein can be ground beef, again, that is cooked already. Then add in your taco seasoning and some brown rice. And then you have a taco soup. So top it with some shredded cheese or sour cream. It's delicious and fun for the whole family, having taco into a soup form.
Yeah. And again, this looks like a quick recipe. How long would something like this typically take?
Well, especially if you're using like canned meats, like the canned chicken is super simple and easy to use in this. It would take you less than 30 minutes to put it all together.
Oh, wonderful.
And a lot of it's hands off. So if you're using like the canned corn and canned tomatoes, it's already chopped and done for you. So you're not sitting there chopping a million ingredients, that you're just opening cans and dumping them in. So then really it's a hands off, and the time that it takes is just simmering it to cook it all together.
No. Oh my gosh. I've got so many ideas, and we'll be sure to share all of these recipes in the feed below after our broadcast. I wanted to take just a few more minutes. I know you talked about the mission of Operation Food Search, and one of the things that we're most concerned about is children and families having access to food.
Yeah.
So if someone right now is experiencing any sort of food insecurity, can you talk a little bit more about how to get involved or how Operation Food Search can be a partner during this time?
Definitely. So during this COVID-19 crisis, Operation Food Search is still continuing our regular food distribution. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, we feed over 200,000 people a month. So we're still able to do that with our food pantry partners and community partners across Missouri and Illinois counties. We're working with restaurants and farmers to rescue food that would otherwise be wasted, and we're getting that food to the people who need it. So a lot of the times people go to the grocery store and there's not a lot of food left. So we noticed like a downturn in food donations, but we thought of different innovative ways to get food donated, Operation Food Search. And that's partnering with restaurants that are closing down and farmers that are seeing like a drop in sales. So we're rescuing that food that might otherwise be wasted. We're also addressing the crucial need to feed children while schools are out. It's a lot of across the state, really, schools are all closed down for the foreseeable future. So we're providing grab-and-go meals to children ages 18 and younger at county library branches and various community locations. We distribute emergency food packs at school districts, independent schools, and various community locations, which consists of a meal for the whole family, and it's all shelf-stable foods. And we have an interactive map on our website that shows where children can get free meals at schools and other locations in your community, where you just put your zip code in and it shows the nearest locations, the times of their servings, the days of their servings. So it's a very simple and easy map to source. In Operation Food Search, we're the lead agency for food insecurity during the COVID-19 crisis. So we're on the regional response team. We represent 5 major jurisdictions, which is St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, St. Clair, and Madison County as well. So we coordinate with regional leaders to address the needs of at-risk populations, low-income communities, first responders, and other essential personnel. So if you want to learn more information on how to give help or get help, you can visit our emergency response page at operationfoodsearch.org.
Wonderful, wonderful. Carmen, thank you so very much for sharing all of this insight, and I'm so excited now to go make lunch myself and have one of those tuna burgers. So I really appreciate you sharing simple ideas that are healthy as well as tasty with items we typically have in our home. So Carmen, thank you so very much for sharing with us, and I know I'm very excited to try these recipes myself.
I mean, I have this whole plate of banana balls here, so we might be diving into this after the video is over.
Yeah, some of our viewers even shared that if we weren't social distancing right now, that they'd be over there to help you eat that. And I might be the first one there. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. For all of you who are tuned in or tuning in after the fact, your daily challenge is going to be to make something yummy for yourself, recognizing that we can use ingredients that we have right in our home to just feed our souls. So your daily challenge is to make something yummy for yourself. Check out other recipes that you can find on the Facebook page for Operation Food Search. And again, be sure to like this link. Be sure to share this video with those that you know may need a daily dose of support. Thank you again, Carmen.
Thank you.
Bye. And we'll see you all back here tomorrow.